So Midnight's left a lot of gaps in the story Taylor was telling, and I really think the Tortured Poets department is the full manuscript that sort of fills those in. So today we're piecing together a combined timeline, one that connects the events of Midnight's with TTPD and also the things that, seem to unfold after Midnight's, but still within that TTPD world. If you've been following along here, you probably know we've been talking about all the Maddie Healy-coded moments across Taylor's albums, from Reputation to Midnight's. And if you haven't seen that one yet, I'd definitely check it out first. It gives a lot more context for what we're about to dive into. And like Taylor says, writing is the only way she can make sense of things. So out came Midnight's. And now, with the Tortured Poets department, she's looking back at some of those same moments, but with more clarity. There's more certainty in TTPD about what those events really were, things she maybe wasn't ready to accept when she wrote Midnight's. So it makes sense that most of the events in these two albums share a similar timeline, or may have happened at the same time. And I thought that was a very interesting thing to try and do, to mix and match these songs to form one continuous timeline. On the left, we have all the songs from Midnight's, including the Till Dawn edition, and, separate tracks like Hits Different and You're Losing Me, and also all the other 31 songs from the TTPD anthology. And what we're trying to do here is we're going to set a timeline merging these two albums together. So it's going to be a lot of here and there, and I hope everyone can keep up with me. I should also clarify that when I say timeline, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to talk about dates or years or something. I will be combining these albums and arranging these songs chronologically. That's all. So obviously there are going to be songs that don't belong on the timeline or are more time irrelevant, like You're On Your Own Kid. Then we have songs that belong in the 2014 bubble or the 2016 era. I have also already set the songs in the order I'm going to put them in, just to make my life easier, I guess. But I promise I will explain all the songs and the context as and when we select them.
So I'll start from where I believe the album starts, which is Lavender Haze. We've already talked about, in one of our previous videos, why Lavender Haze is the best opener for Midnight's. You can go check that video if you haven't already, so you'll get a better idea of what we're talking about here.
So Lavender Haze talks about a time in Taylor's long-term relationship where she was somehow kind of oblivious to the red flags that were happening. And at the same time, she herself had her own baggage, like she had her own past that she was carrying with her, which is why we talked about color theory and red and blue and white and all of that in Lavender Haze. And I still believe that's one of the strongest theories for Lavender Haze and why it's the opening track for Midnight's. So, along with that, I also believe that Lavender Haze is the first event on our timeline. So, in my head, right off the bat, from Lover, when she was in that hazy honeymoon phase, where she had the Lover tracks, like Paper Rings, Me, London Boy, songs like that, which kind of represent the one moment of warm sun. So, after that, things were a bit more difficult, I'm sure. I think they had a lot of fights, as we can see in Cornelia Street. And then they also came together again after that. But things were never really the same. So, in my head, it's all sort of this middle period, where she's trying to decide whether she wants to stay in this long-term relationship or not. And that's where Lavender Haze comes in. She's weighing her options anyway. That was a long intro for Lavender Haze, but we'll take it and keep it as our first song in the timeline.
So next, I'm thinking about Sweet Nothing. This is the song that was kind of confusing, because in the beginning, when we first heard it, it felt like such a nice tribute, like a lovely song for the person you love and the one you're with in a long-term relationship. But then when you hear it again, it kind of seems sad, because it talks about her feeling unappreciated, being far away from home, especially those first few lines about the stone or the rock they picked up from Wicklow or whatever, and whether it misses its home. And I think that's Taylor missing New York, like she was primarily in New York, and now she's in London with her then-boyfriend. So I think Sweet Nothing, when you listen back to it, she's kind of trying to tell herself that it's okay, like he's still here. And even though everything else is going bad in the world, I can still come back to this. But also, you can take it as, I come back to his sweet nothings, which is sweet, but maybe not satisfying enough for her anymore. Like, she's reached that stage of, maybe this is not enough, but I'm still in it, kind of situation. So, yeah, Sweet Nothing belongs second in our timeline.
So I put, I hate it here next, because I strongly believe it fits this part of the timeline. And this is, in my opinion, where she's saying she hates being stuck at home, locked in by herself. So I think her partner at the time went away to shoot a movie or something, and she was left all alone at the house with nothing to do since she had left her whole life back in New York and shifted to England. I Hate It Here is kind of an escape song where she's going to a secret garden in her mind, and only she has the key to that garden. And yeah, there's definitely a literary reference here, like The Secret Garden, the book, which she may have read as a child. But I also think I Hate It here is kind of referring to Folklore and Evermore, her writing process during that time, where she was sort of escaping into this fictional world, into the woods or the secret garden in her mind. So yeah, I'm going to keep it as third on our timeline. Okay, so after that, after her, feeling alone and writing Folklore and Evermore, we come to the song I Look in People's Windows. Now, I don't think she literally looks in people's windows, although, some of us do that when we walk on the road, right? But I think what she means is she's lurking on the internet. She's watching people's videos or looking at Instagram profiles, maybe YouTube vlogs, things like that. In the fandom, we call it taylurking, like stalking, but Taylor style. And she does that a lot, actually. She keeps up to date with what her fans are doing, but she's super sly about it. But in this song, I don't think she's stalking fans. I think she's looking at other people's lives, like domestic stuff. Anniversaries, birthdays, holidays spent with family or loved ones, and she's kind of jealous that she doesn't have that. So she has to live vicariously through them, which is what I think she means by I look in people's windows. There's also a lyric about catching a smile or catching someone's eye, something along those lines. And I think that's referencing the 1975 Part of the Band music video, where I think she says something along the lines of, "You stopped and you tilted your head just a little bit, and I wondered what it was." This is me rephrasing it, of course. That moment is also in the Fortnite music video, which is frame by frame similar to what we see in Part of the Band music video, which I think says a lot. So, anyway, I think she's watching people's videos trying to see where Maddie's at. Maybe like her next, person. She's trying to figure out what he's doing, what's going on in his life, and all of that through other people's posts. So maybe that's why she's looking in windows, because she's lonely. And these two songs, together, they really show how lonely and sad and withdrawn she was. Probably drinking, probably isolated. And this is what she was doing to keep herself occupied during the Folklore and Evermore era, until, I guess, the world started opening back up again after quarantine. So that's our fourth box in the timeline.
All right, next we come to Guilty as Sin. Now, I was a little confused about where to place this, but I think it belongs here, right after I Look in People's Windows. So I think this is the moment where she's kind of mentally checked out of her long-term relationship. She hasn't left yet, but in her mind, she's already considering someone else. And that someone else is Maddie, based on the TTPD album and all the clues sprinkled throughout. She wants to go back to him, she wants to rekindle whatever spark they had, but it's all still just in her head. Fantasies, what ifs, emotional flashbacks. And that's where the guilty as sin comes in. Like, she's still in a committed relationship, but she's thinking about someone else. And she says, "If I didn't touch him, is it still a sin?" That line, so good. It's like she's asking, if it's just emotional cheating, does that still count? So yeah, guilty as sin is her fantasizing about Maddie while still technically in her relationship with Joe. And that's why it fits right after I Look in People's Windows. Because first she's lurking, seeing where Maddie's at, and now she's imagining being with him. So we're carrying that thread in the timeline, and guilty as sin goes here. Then we get to question. Now, at this point in the story, I think she's already taken some sort of action. Like, she's circled Maddie's location on a metaphorical map, and now she is like, "I know where you are, and I am coming to talk to you." So this might have happened during their work at Electric Lady Studios in 2021 to 2022, where she and the 1975 were working with Jack Antonoff. I'm sure some timelines crossed. I'm sure they spent time together. And she's walking up to Maddie like, "Hey, just casually asking, can I ask you a question? I never got closure." At the same time, she's like, "I know you're still with someone, and I'm still with someone too, and it's all cool." But in the back of her head, she's probably thinking, what we had, that was like a meteor strike. And everything else since then, it's just second best. So yeah, question is that moment where she's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get out of this current relationship and maybe find my way back to him. So that's where we are. Question fits right here in our timeline. Okay, so now we're at high infidelity. We covered this in one of our Midnights videos too, where we talked about what high infidelity might actually mean. So, just quickly, there was a time when a lot of fans thought this was about Calvin Harris. And honestly, I used to believe that too, especially because of the line, "Put your records on and regret me," which kind of sounds like she's talking to a DJ, right? But now, when I listen to it closely, it just doesn't fit the Calvin narrative anymore. There's this line, "The slowest way to kill someone is to never love them enough." And it screams long-term relationship. Like, she was slowly dying inside. And the only thing that brought her back to life was this starry eyes, starry constellations in his eyes kind of lover. And then there's the lyric, "Dragged my feet down the aisle."
Like, hello, that's talking about someone she probably considered marrying. And we know she was with Joe for 6 years, so yeah, that makes way more sense than Calvin, who was more of a 1-year thing. And also, there were lyrics about freeloading, which we have talked about in detail on our previous video, link in the description. So I think high infidelity fits in here as one of the final confrontations. Like, this is the big fight, the last straw. She's like, I'm done. I'm not staying in this London house anymore, just waiting for you to love me. Wait, I actually want to rewind that a bit. I think I messed up my own timeline. So, actually scratch that order. Before high infidelity, we actually have You're Losing Me. I completely forgot about this intermix because I think You're Losing Me is the last request or the last effort that she pulled to save the relationship, where she was literally asking her long-term boyfriend to do something, say something, save them from how they were going down, and he did literally nothing. Instead, he tells her she's freeloading and that she's asking for way too much. Anyway, she's like, I've been renewing myself, bending, shifting, compromising, everything. But CPR has failed. She's permanently gone. He's lost her. So, yeah, You're Losing Me is before high infidelity. Because after that heartbreak of being met with nothing, then comes the explosion. That's where high infidelity fits. It's the response, the fight, the emotional detonation. Then comes So Long, London. And this is the goodbye. Not just to the city. It's symbolic. It's the end of the relationship. She's saying, I waited, I hoped, I dreamed, but now I'm walking away. I can't keep waiting for you to love me or propose or do anything to show me I matter. Maybe you'll find someone who's okay with what you have to give. And maybe I'll find someone who wants the same things I do. So yeah, that was the official peace out. So right after So Long, London, we get to Fresh Out the Slammer. And there's just, no question about this one. She literally escaped jail. Metaphorically, of course. The lyrics are super clear. She was in this cloudy, thundery, wishy-washy, emotional prison. And then, bam, she breaks free. She wants warmth. She wants sun. And guess who she calls the second she's out? Maddie Healy. No doubt in my mind. It just makes sense. Then we have Bejeweled. So, because I think this is directly stating what's happened in the Electric Lady Studios, this one's more direct. Now compared to Question, where she was saying, oh, you're still with her? Oh, that's all right. That's more like a colleague-y conversation, something they might have had when they were just working together. Bejeweled is more of a, hey, guess what? I'm kind of free now kind of conversation. So you can see it in people's vibes, that they're not going back to London anymore. I'm sure Maddie realized she'd broken up with Joe, and he may have sensed it somehow, which is why she says, when the band asks, do you have a man? I say, I don't remember. So it's not really a lie or anything. She just wants to enjoy herself. She doesn't want to commit to anything yet. And she sees that Matt is still interested, so she's like, okay, fine, then I'll dance. So Bejeweled happens here. And then we go into Glitch. This is so crucial, because Glitch is the link we were all looking for, at least I was. It's that realization wait, this wasn't supposed to happen. She thought she had just escaped a long-term relationship. She thought she and Maddie were just flirting. Maybe a little friends with benefits vibe, but then, boom, it's a glitch. They're catching feelings, real feelings. She says, we were supposed to be just friends, and I thought it was just a passing thing. But now, there's no turning back. She's fastening herself to him with a stitch. That lyric hits so hard. So yeah, Glitch is the moment where she realizes this is more than a fling. This is something real. After Glitch, we get to Labyrinth. Now this one is, so beautifully heartbreaking. Because remember, this wasn't supposed to be anything serious. It was supposed to be a situationship, a rebound, a brief little spark. But now she's like, oh no, I'm falling. She's going down that spiral again. That maze, that emotional trap she knows too well. And she can't stop it. Labyrinth is her falling in love again, almost against her will. She's saying the plane was coming down, but somehow you turned it around. Which also could mean that after her previous relationship, she was falling. She was going to crash, and somehow he turned it around. Or he saved her in a way, or he brought her back to life, as she says in High Infidelity. And there's this line, it only hurts this much right now, which, ouch. She knows it's gonna hurt more later if it doesn't work out, but she's choosing it anyway, even if it's not reciprocated the same way, even if it's unequal. So, Labyrinth is her admitting she's in too deep. Okay, wow, we have a lot of songs to get through, and should probably do this quicker. Now, most of the songs will make sense on the timeline as I think the difficult part is over. So let's move into Snow on the Beach. This one we also talked about, along with Labyrinth, in our previous Midnights video, so if you've seen that, you already know the mood. So Snow on the Beach is kind of a situation where two people are falling in love at the same time, with the same intensity, as Taylor described in, I think, Genius or one of the interviews or something. So it's mostly about a love that she thought would never happen, but it did. And it's weird, but it's also very, very beautiful. So Snow on the Beach comes after Labyrinth. It's like after the confusion and resistance in Labyrinth, now she's kind of allowing herself to fall. So we'll keep it here. Then we have Karma. In Karma, there's not much about her love life or relationship in it, so it could easily go into that very 2016 to 2017 cloud on the right as well. But I think the reason why I'm putting it after Snow on the Beach is because of that line. The guy on the screen. I've expanded on this in the Midnights video. How there's a lyric in a 1975 song, "If you're too shy, let me know." In that song, there's a lyric, "I need to see the girl on the screen." So I think they had been on the phone, doing long distance, calling each other, talking to each other for a very long time. And now, the guy on the screen is coming home to her, which means they're together now. Either together in a relationship, or just in the same physical space. There's no long distance anymore. Anyway, she's happy, and that happiness has kind of spread to other parts of her life. Her enemies are going down, she's kept everything clean, and now she's reaping the fruits, or the benefits of that. So Karma goes here. All right, so after Karma, we move into Mastermind. So why does Mastermind belong in this timeline? It's because, although in the Lavender Haze music video we see the zodiac signs of, Sagittarius and Pisces on the cover art of Mastermind, and I think that's also the cover art for the Mastermind vinyl, I think the meaning here is more about Maddie. More about laying out the steps for someone to fall in love with you, which feels more like about a relationship after her long-term one. Mastermind could be about both situations, honestly, so we'll probably never be sure. But here we go. I'm putting Mastermind here because I think it just fits. Okay, next song is All of the Girls You Loved Before. Now, this one's going to be a little contentious because we don't know when it was actually written. We just know it was released in 2023, kind of as part of the Lover era. But when you listen to the lyrics, it's shady. Like, if you really pay attention, they're sneaking into town, holding hands. He's probably with somebody else, maybe thinking about somebody else. I don't know. So, All of the Girls You Loved Before is more about how all your past relationships and all my past relationships have brought us to this place. And we've come together. And now you're all I need. It's not that honeymoon phase, perfection thing anymore. It's like, I see you clearly, and I still want this. I kind of feel like this came right after he may have broken up with his then-girlfriend. And now they're together, in a space where they can be together. It's along the same lines as Karma. Otherwise, they were just parallel lines. And parallel lines show up again in I Look in People's Windows. That idea that they've been going in different directions. Parallel lines don't usually meet. They're close, but they never collide. It's like their lives were running next to each other, but never quite touching. Because they were doing different things, living in different places, constantly touring, recording, whatever. They just couldn't be together. But now they've collided. They've finally come together. So that's what I think All of the Girls is about. So we're putting it here. Then we get to the next song, which is Great War. I was very, 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 very confused about this one. Like, I didn't know if I wanted to put it in this exact spot on the timeline. And of course, you're totally welcome to disagree with me, because honestly, that's what this channel is all about. I don't think I'm 100% right. I probably got some things wrong. So let me know in the comments. Just don't be an asshole. So, okay, the Great War is about a huge fight between her and said lover. And yeah, the Great War is also a nickname for World War I. So you can imagine, it was a big fight. What you can see in the Great War is that someone was unhappy. I think mostly Taylor in this case. There were trust issues, she was closed off, started drinking, didn't fully hear the other person out, things like that. Meanwhile, the other person tried to reach out, held her hand, made peace offerings, drew up some kind of emotional treaty, Now, the reason this is so confusing and kind of polarizing is because this could very well be connected to the big fight from Lover, like the Cornelia Street fight or the Afterglow fight. So the Great War could fit there too. But the reason I think it might belong here, and why I think it might be about Maddie, is because of two things. First, she says her past might be coming back from the crypt, screaming, which makes me think she had kind of buried that old version of herself, the one who used to fight and argue. After the big fight in Lover, it feels like she shut that part of herself down. Because at some point, she didn't even know what she was fighting for anymore. I don't think Joe gave her anything to fight for. It just fizzled out. No major fights, just nothing left. But now in this new relationship, that part of her has come back. She cares again. This fight means something, and it's long after the one in Lover, which is why I think it's with Maddie. Second clue. She says, there's no morning glory, it was war, it wasn't fair. And that's such a stark contrast to Afterglow, where she's like, I know I'm the one who messed up. I imagined all this. Meet me in the Afterglow. In the Great War, she's not apologizing. She's exhausted. She's saying, this fight wasn't fair and I'm trying to survive it. You can see the lyrical contrast. In Afterglow, there's this hope, like a morning after, like light coming in. And here she says, there's no morning glory. It's just been dark. But now the long night is over, and maybe they can finally be together, in the daylight, in peace. But she had to let go of all that built-up stuff to get to that place of acceptance. So the Great War goes here. Then we have Hits Different. In Hits Different, she's in the middle of it. She's doing all these things, going to the pub, hearing their songs, drinking, cursing his name. She's spinning. And there's a line which is really similar to one in Lana Del Rey's song Margaret, which she wrote for Jack Antonoff's girlfriend, now wife, Margaret Qualley. The song Margaret has the line, when you know, you know. Lana released that album in early 2023, but she said she wrote Margaret in September 2022. And I think Hits Different happened around then too, because in the song, Taylor's kind of questioning, like, they say you'll know if it's love, but will you? Because we just had this huge fight, and now I'm crying in the street, and I don't know what to do. And here's the thing. Taylor was working with Jack Antonoff at Electric Lady Studios around that time, recording Snow on the Beach with Lana. So it makes total sense that she'd be hanging out with Lana and Jack, maybe heard that line or talked to them about love and relationships, and it stuck with her. She's like, oh, yeah, they say if it's love, you'll know. But right now, I don't know anything. I just know I'm heartbroken. So I think during Hits Different, that was a time when she had gone through a brief breakup with Matty Healy. Because we know, like, he had his own flings before they got back together again in March or April, maybe March. So I think around that time when they broke up, or maybe they just took some space from each other, whatever it was, she had gone through a lot of anxiety, which I feel really shows in the next few songs. Starting with Antihero. So Antihero is about judging everything. She had, ended her long-term relationship, and her short-term relationship, maybe she did. Maybe she didn't officially end it. Who knows? But she had stopped talking to him, stopped contacting him. She's alone now. And all her intrusive thoughts are just getting to her. Her fame, her life, the gigantic size of everything is affecting her relationships, her friendships, and she doesn't have anybody anymore. And she thinks we, as fans, will eventually find out what kind of human being she really is. Like, she's saying, I'm the problem, it's me. She's not the hero in this situation. That's what Antihero is about. It's a really anxiety-provoking song, and I think she was going through a very low period during that time. Then we have Dear Reader, which is very similar to Antihero. Again, she's alone. She's going back home. But it's not really a home, it's just a house because there's no one there. And she says, no one knows when you lose if you're playing solitaire, which shows how lonely she is. Also playing on the word solitary, she's just sitting there, writing lyrics because there's nothing else to do. She even says, I'm not your guiding light, but I do shine bright. Like, yeah, she may be a star, but if you knew what she's been through, if you knew the situation she's in, you wouldn't take advice from her. And that's huge because her whole brand is about love and relationships. And now she's questioning, like, who am I to give advice when I just lost the love of my life? Or maybe people in my life who I loved so much. So Dear Reader is her saying, don't look to me right now. I'm not in a place to guide anyone. If you really knew, you'd understand. Then I think Down Bad, because I think what she was trying to do, she was trying to escape that misery with hyper-productivity. We know that she planned her Eras tour to start in March 2023, just mere months after the release of Midnights. So she had already started working out, already started going to the gym, practicing, rehearsing the stage setup, choreography, practicing everything way in advance. So I think this is the moment where she's like, oh, I'm down bad crying at the gym because she's thinking, I wanted him and I couldn't have him. And now she's being a child, having all that teenage petulance. Like, if I can't have him, she would never cancel the tour. So what's the other option? To cry at the gym, of course. Now, the reason I'm putting Down Bad here and not later in the TTPD section is because when Maddie and Taylor broke up, I don't think she had the kind of break in her schedule where she could have gone back to the gym and started prepping for the next leg of the tour. The shows were happening continuously, like 5 or 6 months straight. So I think Down Bad happened before all that, before the tour really kicked off. And you know, the pause she had after the first American leg was in August, and by then she had already met Travis. So I don't think she was still crying at the gym anymore. I think Down Bad is from an earlier moment, a shorter break that Taylor and Maddie took from each other before they even officially came out as a couple. So that's what I think. Okay, the next one is I'm Gonna Get You Back. Now, I'm Gonna Get You Back is interesting because it's like she doesn't know whether she wants to marry him or smash his bike. Like, she's not sure yet. And that is such a Taylor Swift song. It's got that double entendre energy. She could be talking about revenge or about trying to win him back. It's so Taylor. And I love it. And I know a lot of fans love it too. I kept it here because the breakup section that comes later, the one where things really fall apart, is way more intense. It's a very different emotional energy compared to I'm Gonna Get You Back. Honestly, I don't think Lommel, the smallest man who ever lived, and I'm Gonna Get You Back belong in the same section. Emotionally, they're in totally different places. So in my head, after Down Bad, she's saying, okay, I'm gonna get you back somehow.
And well, we know she did get him back, because they got together again, which brings us to the Tortured Poets department. TTPD, the song, is about a brief time they were together. We don't know how long it really lasted, I'm just calling it brief. But this is the only song where she gives us an actual look inside her relationship with Maddie. Like, a real glimpse. Everything else is her fighting him, or fighting the media, or her parents, or crying in a corner, or performing through the pain. This is literally the only song where she talks about what it was like being with him. And it looks like he was high most of the time. She says she's okay with the storms that come with him, maybe even mood shifts, or something more. She says, I've seen this episode, I don't mind it at all. Like she's giving unconditional love. She's seen it before and she still loves the show. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they collaborated on this song. Maybe he even had a section of lyrics he helped write. I wouldn't be shocked. But either way, it didn't end up officially being released as a collab. Also, there's this moment in the song where she says he told Lucy, from Boy Genius, that he'd die if Taylor left him. And she told that to Jack Antonoff. And in that moment, she felt seen. They had reached that stage. Like, we cannot lose this. We have to make this work. And they were up in that cloud again. That honeymoon phase. So yeah. That's what the Tortured Poets department is. Then we go to But Daddy, I Love Him. I think this one came after TTPD, when they were in a smoother place, when things had calmed down. And that's probably when Taylor and her team decided to go public with the relationship. And we know what followed. But Daddy, I Love Him is a response to the fans, to the media, to everyone who was slandering her for dating Maddie Healy. Like, why would she date someone so problematic? There was even that Speak Up Now petition, remember? Some of her fans signed it, demanding that she break up with Maddie. They said they were speaking on behalf of all Swifties. But this song is for those people. For the ones in the crowd who think they have a say in her personal life. And she's like, okay, well, if you're gonna come for me, I'll burn it all down. What can you do? Because being with him is what she wanted. Period. So, but Daddy, I Love Him happens during that moment, when she was standing up to all the outrage. Then we have Florida. I think this comes right after. But Daddy, I Love Him, because it talks about the shit show back in Texas. And if I remember right, Texas is where she publicly confirmed the breakup with Joe. And right after that, Maddie showed up at one of her live shows. So Florida is that high, that moment of relief. Like, okay, the truth is finally out. I'm free, but I know a storm is coming and I'm gonna brace for it, but I feel strong now. Florida is also kind of a drug metaphor. Like, Florida's one hell of a drug. And I think it's probably referencing the miracle move-on drug she talks about in Fortnite. So yeah, that's Florida. So just one more thing to add, which is that I think Florida, the Florida show, was the first show where Maddie Healy came, which was also right after Texas. Or maybe he came for the first time in Texas. I actually don't know. But either way, it was one of those shows where they had that I love you kind of moment. Like, saying it to each other on the screen. So that could also be the significance of Florida. It's one hell of a drug because in that moment, in that place, they were literally love bombing each other. That kind of love as a drug energy. Then we get I Can Fix Him. No, really, I can. Now, this is interesting because it feels like a direct response to people around her. Maybe her team, maybe the fans, saying, why are you dating him? He's said problematic things. He's not politically correct. And she's just like, don't worry, I can fix him. Classic. And of course, she ends it with, whoa, I can't. So clearly, she tried. And she failed. Whether he ghosted her or things just fell apart, she realized, yeah, I actually can't fix him. After that realization, we get, my boy only breaks his favorite toys. Now we know they've broken up. How? Why? We don't fully know. I don't think Taylor knows either.
From all the songs, it kind of feels like she was ghosted. She wasn't given a real explanation. And that's why we get this song. It feels like the first draft of a breakup. The real emotions haven't kicked in yet. She says he made her feel more than anyone else because he took her out of the box. He didn't keep her in one category. He let her be herself. But she's also repeating this sad, trained idea. He runs away because he loves me. It's such a heartbreaking line. And it's like she's trying to unlearn that now, trying to undo that narrative that chaos equals love. Then we get Black Dog, and this is brutal. This is where she's tracking his live location on her phone. He never turned it off, and she sees he's going to a bar and her brain goes into full spiral. Is he hooking up? Is he moving on? And she just can't understand how he isn't hurting like she is. She's asking, what was all that? Was it not real? She knows he'll move on to someone younger because that's his type. But she's like, they'll never know you the way I do. Not your favorite songs, not your lyrics, not the history behind them. And yeah, it's a denial stage of grief. She's saying, you'll never find someone like me, but deep down, she's still hoping he'll come back. Then we get, I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. Even through all this, she still has to put on the Eras tour, this massive record-breaking tour, and how we all thought she was living her best life, but she's like, no, I was shattered. I was grieving. She's performing every night, faking smiles, trying to convince herself it even happened. Like, looking for evidence. Is this his shirt? Was this his hat? Just to prove to herself it was real. Because it ended so fast, it almost felt like it wasn't. Then we get The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived. This, to me, feels like the anger stage of grief. She's done hoping, done crying, now she's mad. She says he called one of her friends asking for pills, and that friend ghosted him, and now he knows what it feels like. She's comparing losing him to drug withdrawal, and I hate to say it, but because I think she is insinuating that that's the closest he will ever come to understand what losing someone you love so much feels like. It's raw and mean and necessary. Then we have Peter. So, I put Peter here, but honestly, it could belong in a lot of different places. Because I think Peter is more of a timeless song. It's not meant to sit in a specific moment on the timeline. It's more about a feeling that stayed with her for a really long time. I know a lot of people refer to Peter as Maddie, and I do too. But lately, I've started thinking that instead of seeing Peter as a direct character, we can think of him as an idea, a concept of someone she believed would come back to her when he grew up. I think she had this version of Maddie in her head, the 25-year-old Maddie, the one from 2014 when they were first involved. And maybe back then he told her, I'll grow up and I'll come back for you. And she believed him. So now, all these years later, she's grown up, she's had multiple relationships, she's become a full woman, and even though she's moved on with her life, she's still waiting, like Wendy at the window, with the light on, not pausing her life, but still hoping that one day he'd come back. But then she realizes he never really did. Or maybe he did, but he wasn't the same person, and I don't think Peter is about Maddie Healy, the person, anymore. I think it's about that idea of Maddie, the 25-year-old version she once loved and trusted. She's grieving the loss of that person, and at the same time, she's also angry at the current version of him, the one who ghosted her, the one who hurt her. So it's like she's grieving two versions at once. It's messy, but grief is funny like that. She's separating those two parts in her mind. One part is love, compassion, the years she spent waiting, and the other part is betrayal, disappointment, the guy she actually ended up with. So there are two different Peters here, two dissociable guys, and she's trying to reconcile that. That's what Peter is, for me at least. And I think it's also a closure song. It's her finally saying, I'm turning off the light, I'm not waiting anymore, because they gave it a shot. They did try, but she doesn't recognize him anymore. She doesn't trust this older version of Maddie Healy, and as much as it hurts her, she knows she has to let go. So she's doing that. Slowly, painfully, but she's doing it. She's reaching that place of acceptance. Then we come to Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus. I think this is the last part of grief. Not in a bad place exactly, but it's still that bargaining stage. Kind of like Peter, where she's saying, I'm switching off the light, but I just want you to know I did leave it on for a while. And Chloe or Sam is the same. She's literally detailing what's happened over the past 10 years. And, you know, as I mentioned in I think the second video we ever posted on the channel, the one about folklore and evermore, these two songs, Chloe or Sam and Peter, are so intertwined. You could place Chloe first or Peter first, it doesn't really matter. I think they're intrinsically connected. Chloe or Sam is pure lyrical brilliance. It's narrative, it's deeply first person, and she's being extremely vulnerable, like in a way we haven't really seen from her before.
I honestly don't think there's ever been a Taylor Swift song where she's gone into this much emotional detail about what's haunted her. And you feel it. You feel it in the song. The production by Aaron is soft and aching. There's this slow sadness, these strings, and just this underlying sense of quiet crying. She's asking, after all these years, after everything we fought for, is this it? Is it enough that we just keep orbiting each other but never actually come together? Like, I'll see you in a crowd. I'll see you at an event. I'll see you at a mutual friend's party. And we'll smile politely. We'll keep our distance. And maybe that's what we're supposed to be now. And then she asks, is that really okay with you? Are you okay moving on like this? She's selling her apartment. He has kids with an internet starlet. I think she already knew by this point that he had moved on, was with someone else. So she's asking, is that enough to erase what we had? That scarlet maroon thing we had? And then she says, if you say you still wonder, and that would be enough to break her heart. Because even the smallest chance that he hasn't let go, that would unravel everything she's tried to hold together. So yeah, this is still the bargaining phase. She hasn't fully let go yet, but you can tell she's working through it. Grief, little by little, line by line. And that's Chloe, or Sam, one of the best songs she's ever written, honestly. And then we get to Lomal. I think Lomal is a song of acceptance. The more I listen to it, the more it feels like she's come to terms with everything. Her anger, the expectations she had going into this relationship, the expectations he placed in her mind through his actions and his words. She's putting it all together in Lomal and saying, this is what you told me would happen. You said I was the love of your life. We walked into rekindled flames and I said, it's okay. I know it takes time to find true love. And yet, he ghosted her. He was shit-talking her under the table. He was saying things like, we'll get married and we'll have babies. And then behind her back, he was saying something completely different. And this is what actually happened. He told her, you're the love of my life, probably multiple times. And now he's probably saying it to someone else. But at the end of the song, she flips it. She says, you're the loss of my life. Because it's not just the loss of him. It's the loss of everything she imagined with him. Everything she hoped for from life in general. That loss, that grief, is what Lomal is really about. And that's why it's a kind of acceptance. It's the final goodbye. Like, this is never going to happen again. Then we move to how did it end? But just because she's reached acceptance doesn't mean she's fine. Even in Lomal, you can hear the grief. She literally says, I can't get out of bed because something counterfeit's dead. And that word, counterfeit, is a callback to Glitch, where she was like, oh, this must be counterfeit, because it was happening so fast. And now she's saying, yeah, it was counterfeit. It wasn't real, even though it felt so big. So how did it end? Is that moment when people start asking questions. The fans, the media, people in her life, everyone knows she's heartbroken. They see it. She looks lost. She looks sad. And instead of just letting her be, they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, but how did it end? And she's calling that out, that empathic hunger. Like, people don't really care how she feels. They just want the story. They want the gossip, the juicy details. So yeah, she's still grieving in this one. And now she's dealing with this layer of external pressure. Everyone else wanting to make it a spectacle. Then we come to Albatross. So Albatross is more about, like, I think she's trying to understand herself again. She's asking the question, how do I retain myself in a relationship? She's being really introspective here, looking at her own patterns, what she's done in relationships, and how she might have contributed to their failures. And I think she's also responding to the narrative the media has always had about her, that she's the albatross. That warning voice that says, don't go near her. She'll curse you. She'll ruin your life. She's bad luck. And she's owning it here. She's like, yeah, I'm the albatross. She's saying, you thought I was an angel, but now I look like the devil, don't I? She's claiming that label and throwing it right back. So it continues the thread from how did it end into albatross, where people are villainizing her in the breakup, saying things like, oh, she can't keep a man. She ruins every guy she dates. That same tired narrative. Then we get the bolter. This is the second old narrative people have had about her for a long time, that she runs from relationship to relationship, that she's always dating someone new, never alone, always moving on. And that's probably one of the reasons she held on for so long in that long-term relationship, because she didn't want to feed into that story, which is actually really sad when you think about it. But again, here she's stepping into that image. She's writing from the perspective of the bolter. Maybe it's tongue-in-cheek, maybe it's sarcastic, but she's embodying that character people always projected onto her. People have literally called her a bolter, like someone who just can't stay in a relationship. So now she's taking all of that, the fan theories, the media takes, the public judgment, and turning it into a song.
and it belongs in that same cluster of public perception songs as Albatross and How Did It End? Then we have The Prophecy, and this is where it gets really personal. This isn't about how other people see her. This is about how she sees herself. After all those external narratives, from How Did It End to Albatross to The Bolter, we finally get her inner world. And she's exhausted. She's overwhelmed. She feels burdened by all these stories constantly being told about her. And all she wants is company. That's it. She just wants someone to spend time with her, to be with her. And she starts bargaining with the universe, or God, or fate, whatever you want to call it. She's like, okay, take everything. I don't want to be rich. I don't want to be the best songwriter. I don't want to be Taylor Swift. I just want someone to be with me. Can we reverse the prophecy? Because the prophecy, her prophecy, was that she'd be the greatest songwriter of her generation, that she'd create art from heartbreak, that her heartbreaks would be the cost of her success, that she'd keep going through these shitty relationships because the pain would fuel the music, and the music would bring the fame and the praise and the money and the legacy. But now she's saying, I don't want that anymore. Maybe when she was younger she did, but now she just wants peace, love, a quiet, stable life. And she's saying, if I give it all up, if I give you all my money, all my fame, will you just please reverse the curse? She's at her breaking point. She's howling at the moon like a fool, just begging. Like, please, please, not again. She thought that Maddie was the end of the curse, that he was the one. But now it's all fallen apart again. And the prophecy is her asking, one last time, can this please stop happening to me? So now we have The Alchemy. Right after the prophecy, I placed Alchemy because I think she was in that mindset, that space of the prophecy for a long time, even during the Eras tour. Alchemy could definitely sit earlier in the timeline, actually. I think it could even be from the time when she circled Maddie's name on the map and went to him, so maybe somewhere around there. But the reason I placed it here is because it's so full of football analogies. You just can't place it too early. It could be about both Maddie and Travis, honestly. And I think I'm leaning more toward Travis at this point because she wants us to believe that. And it's her art, so I let her rock. I'll believe it's about Travis, too. No issues with that. It's a very vague song, though. You could attribute it to anyone. But if she wants it to be about Travis, it's about Travis. So I think this is when she met Travis. She met a new guy. She's starting to feel that spark again. She never thought she'd be able to move on, but maybe her prayers were answered after the prophecy. Who knows? But yeah, this is the beginning of her relationship with Travis, which was around August or September, I think, when they started dating. So the good times are starting now. Then we go to So High School. I think Alchemy comes before So High School because Alchemy still feels like the start. She's considering being with him, feeling the chemistry, seeing him play, watching his game. She had even attended a match at that point, I know. So High School feels like it's a bit deeper into the relationship. It talks about his friends coming over, them hanging out, the fun stuff they do together. It feels settled, like they're actually in love now, like they're together most of the time. So yeah. So High School comes a little later in the relationship, and it fits here. Then we have the manuscript. This, to me, is the point where she actually wrote the Tortured Poets department, and the manuscript is the metaphor I'm using for the entire TTPD album.
She's moved on, as we can see. It's been a long journey, but she finally got here. She wrote the full story of what happened. No gaps like in Midnight's. No withheld emotions. She didn't keep anything to herself. This is her being fully vulnerable, fully open. I think she even mentioned during one of her shows in Australia, or somewhere, that she had to write this album, that she had to get it out of her system, and she did.
This album, this new one, like, Tortured Poets is an album that I think more than any of my albums that I've ever made, I needed to make it. Like, it was really a lifeline for me. Just the things I was going through, the things I was writing about, it was like...
The manuscript is her moment of release. She realized the only way to move forward was to look back, process it, and then let it go. So she did. The story is ours now. The audiences, the listeners. For her, it's done. It's closed. She's not going to look at it anymore. She read it one last time before TTPD came out, and that's it. She's done. So yes, these songs are ours now. Now, we do have some other songs that I didn't really know where to place. They don't quite fit in the timeline, but that's okay. It doesn't really belong in the timeline. But, you know, we'll be quick with it. So Midnight Rain, as we know, is about a guy who was nice, who was like sunshine, and she didn't want that. She wanted pain. She didn't want to be his wife yet, and that's all he really wanted. I think, honestly, there's no doubt about it, at least in my head. I think this is about Taylor Lautner. She says she was building her name, she was making her name, which clearly places it during the Speak Now or Fearless timeline. So even though the song isn't from 2014,
We're just placing it there because we don't have a better box to put it in. But yeah, it's about her first good relationship. Would've, could've, should've. We don't need to go into detail. It's John Mayer. Enough said. Way before Speak Now era. Fuck him. Cassandra, I think, is about the Kimye situation in 2016 to 2017. She clearly still holds on to that pain. And honestly, every album has at least one song that references it. This is that song on this album. I think Thank You, Amy is about that situation too, but we'll get to that. Maroon, I'd place around 2016, maybe even 2014. I think it could belong to either, but I'm placing it in 2016 because of that line. How did we lose sight of us again? It sounds like it's referring to the second time she and Maddie may have reconnected. Why do I think it's 2016? Because we've talked about this on the channel. We have a theory that Taylor and Maddie got together again briefly in 2016 or 2017, and Maroon feels like it fits that narrative. Then we have Paris. I strongly believe Paris also happened in that 2016 to 2017 window. It feels like a honeymoon period song. They just got together, everything's dreamy and romantic. I think this was after Calvin Harris, probably before Tom Hiddleston. The details are unclear, so we won't dig into that too much, but it feels like that time. Also, the 1975 have a song called Paris. Not about a romantic relationship, more about drugs or something, but it's worth noting. That title connection is interesting. Thank you, Amy. Again, placing it with Cassandra's situation. That whole media blow-up, the betrayal, the chaos, vigilante shit, definitely about Scooter Braun. This one feels like a 2019 to 2020 moment, not part of the 2016 to 2017 cloud. This is about her finding out they wouldn't sell her masters, about the business drama, and yeah, she found out about some shady stuff he was involved in. And she reported him, because never mess with Taylor Swift. Period. Who's afraid of little old me? I think this fits in around the same timeline. It feels like it's about Scott Borchetta, her old label head, or maybe others in the industry who tried to silence her. It's her saying, "Why are you afraid of me?" To all those big, powerful people who tried to shut her up, turns out they should have been afraid because she will report you to the FBI if needed. Clara Bow. Honestly, it doesn't belong in any cloud. It's a timeless song. It's about the anxiety of being replaced. And not just for pop stars. This is a universal thing. That fear that someone newer, shinier, younger is going to come in and take your place. So you keep reinventing yourself. You keep hoping people still see value in you, still love you. Clara Bow is about that fear, that feeling that no matter how good you are, one day you'll be forgotten. So instead of tearing each other down, maybe we can all just be friends, because we're all going to be replaced someday. Robin, I have no idea. To be very honest, I don't know what this one's about, but I do think it belongs with You're on Your Own, Kid. It feels like she's talking to her inner child, telling her to be brave, to stay strong. And of course, You're on Your Own, Kid is also a message to her fans, a reminder of all the moments they've shared. A comfort that even though you're on your own, you can do it. You're strong enough. And of course, You're on Your Own, Kid is also a message to her fans, a reminder of all the moments they've shared. A comfort that even though you're on your own, you can do it. You're strong enough. Bigger than the whole sky. I'm not going to speak about this one much. There are a lot of conflicting theories, and some of them touch on very sensitive topics. And while I do think it might be about those things, out of respect, I'm not going to speculate here. So yeah, that's the last of our songs. We've sorted the entire Midnights and TTPD discography into a full emotional and lyrical timeline. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. This was a huge effort to put together, but I really hope it makes sense. And I hope you agree. If not, that's totally okay. Let me know in the comments and we can discuss it like always. I'll be jumping in and replying as much as I can. And as I mentioned in the last video, we'll be continuing this month with all TTPD-focused content. This was just a warm-up. So if you liked this video, please like and subscribe so you'll know when the next one drops. All right, see you next week.